I am scared of so many things, and I think that most people are, but I just don't think that they are willing to admit it. I think that most people are afraid of what could happen, the good and the not so good, and they just won't admit it. And because they're not admitting it, it's why people aren't overcoming it. And so I want to have a conversation all about fears. Welcome back to another episode of the Keenya podcast, where we talk about all things life, building a business, marketing, work-life balance, and even dating, because your girl is in her single girl era. And I'm so glad that you're here listening and watching us here on my YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe here on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast, that you come and actually watch this episode on YouTube at Keenya Kelly. If you want to listen to me on the go, obviously you can just listen to the podcast. So I wanted to have this conversation about fear. Now, one of the reasons why we're having this conversation is because I have this course and it's called Vertical Video Mastery, teaching people, women, business owners, how to show up on video using vertical video and crush it in terms of building an audience, building a business, and making money. And one of the biggest things that we experience when we ask people why they're not showing up on video is they say fear. And I can relate to that. Okay. I can relate to that so much. When I ask people what are some of their dreams and they tell me what they are, and I say, well, why haven't you started going after them? The number one reason is fear. Some will say time, but when they really get down to business, it's fear, right? And so I want to just unpack that and talk about it today, because we are here at the second half of 2024, and all of us set goals at the beginning of the year on about so many different things. And some of us are crushing it in some areas and not so much. And then some of us are just not crushing it at all. And no matter where you are, this is not a shame episode. I'm not shaming you because I don't believe in shame. Wherever you are, there is this opportunity of change. There's this opportunity of wherever you're not, of like go, and now you can turn around, you can go in the right direction to accomplish your goals or whatever, you know? So let's kind of talk about fear. So I always like to do my favorite thing. I like to go to Dr. Google. So I call it Dr. Google, but it's just literally Google. All right. So we're going to go to Google real quick, and we're just going to type in the word fear. And then we're going to see what Google is bringing up. Wait, I don't know why my computer keeps bringing up Bing. Maybe because I moved to Houston. Now it's like, it's automatically going to Bing. That's not fun. Like, who uses Bing? Do people still use Bing? Anyway, let's go to Google. So fear, an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that something or someone is dangerous, likely to cause pain or threat. A verb, to be afraid of something or someone as likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. Okay. So y'all know I'm a Christian. I'm gonna click on it. Let's see. What is the definition of fear in the Bible? While the normal meaning of fear as dread or terror is retained in the theological use of the terms, a special nuance or referential awe or word, it's way deep for me. I'm not that deep. Okay, so we talk about fear as an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or threat. So, fear. Let's talk about some of my fears and how I navigate them and how you can start to navigate fear in your own life. So, growing up, for some reason, I had this fear of getting married and my husband cheating on me and it ending in divorce. I don't know why I had that fear, but that was a huge fear that I had. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. I got married to a person who was called a pastor. He cheated on me, ended in divorce. Weird, right? So it's like I knew what was going to happen before it happened for my whole life. And that's so weird. But I think that fear was also a projection. It was also I don't think it caused him to cheat, but I think it was also an awareness of what I was attracting, right? I had this fear of what my naturally curly hair would look like, because my whole life, my mom had put chemicals on my hair to make my hair straight. So I had this fear that if I let my hair grow out curly, that it wasn't going to be pretty. Right. And so for many, many, many years, I just kept putting chemicals and chemicals and chemicals on my hair because I was afraid of, what my hair would look like. But one day I made a decision to cut off all my hair and just see what it was going to look like. I wasn't happy with the initial result. But I love my hair, today, fast forward many years later, I dealt with the fear of showing up on video after I had just gone through a divorce, not knowing if my ex-husband was going to show up, if the women he cheated on me with, if they were going to show up, if people were going to talk bad about me because he wasn't there and I was showing up, wasn't wearing a ring, all this stuff. And it was such a big fear. And I was so afraid all the time that that's what was going to happen if I started creating videos online. And I had some choices to make. I could choose to, with my hair, I could just keep putting the chemicals on my hair, or I could cut it off and let my hair grow out. I could do that. I could never fall in love, never get married in fear of getting divorced, right? And as it pertains to showing up on video, I could create videos, show up online, and then just see what could happen, right? And in all three of those scenarios, those were not quick, fast scenarios. They weren't quick, fast. Okay, I'll do it anyway. No. These were things I toiled over. I was so scared about, so nervous about for a long time, and I just kept having this nagging of here is the worst that could happen. And I keep focusing on the worst that could happen. But then I started going, well, what is the best that could happen? Right? If I cut my hair, what if it actually grows out pretty? If I get married, if he cheats on me, okay, I'll get divorced, but then I can meet somebody else at some point, right? If I get online and he shows up and the women he cheated on me with, they show up, the worst that could happen is that I kick them offline or whatever, And what finally won was hope. And I was like, my hair could look good. I could marry and stay married. I could show up online and everything actually go well, right? And so in the midst of all the fears, there was the hope of the possibility of good things. And so in each of those scenarios, I chose hope, right? Now, when it came to, let's just say, my course that I have, Vertical Video Mastery, when I thought about creating this course, I had these fears that I could spend all this time creating this course and nobody would buy it. Nobody would want to be a part of this course. And I had fear around it. When I decided to revamp the course to make it better and half the price, I had fear around it. And I had to remind myself, yes, the worst could happen, but the best can also happen. And I was like, okay, so I recently revamped my course. And I was like, okay, we're going to open the doors to this course and we're going to go, this is our strategy, what we're going to do with it. And as of right now, I think we've got almost 100 people that have signed up for this course. Because even though I had the fear of what could go bad, I was like, but what if people actually love this? What if people actually want to be a part of this and they actually decide to join this, and then even now, I just recently moved back to Houston 2 months ago after God told me to move to Houston. I was very excited about it, but I was still also nervous of well, what if I'm making the wrong decision? What if people don't love me in Houston the way that I think they do, or the way that I want them to, or whatever, right? Sorry, I got something on my nail. And I had all this the fears around it, right? Finding the right place to live, or crime being whatever, all this stuff. I had fears around it, And I just remember saying like, okay, I can be in fear and stay in San Diego. San Diego's a great place. Or I can operate in hope and trust and get on the road and come here. Now, I had fear of shipping all my things to Houston. And that, because I heard war stories of people that hired movers, paid the movers picked up all their stuff, and they never dropped it off. They just kept it. They never dropped it off. And they lost everything. Had a friend of mine turned on that said it happened to her. And I'm like, crazy. And I was like, that could happen to me. I had the fear of getting back on the road with my cats, driving from San Diego to Houston, moving. I had the fear of all of that, doing it again with my car. I love my car. My car's 10 years old. It's a Honda, doesn't even have 100,000 miles on it, right? You know, but I had the fear of, oh, maybe it needs repairs that I don't know that it needs. And because my car's great, nothing wrong with it, but I still had the fear. And I said, I got choices. I can go and have somebody look over my entire car and pay for whatever needs to be paid for or whatever. Right. And so I was like, well, I got to operate in hope and not operate in fear. And so here I am, fast forward, back here in Houston, made it here safely, no problems. I haven't had any problems with crime or anything like that. And I won't. All of my stuff made it here. Nothing is missing. And I had the choice of like the fear part or the hope part. And so the truth is that everybody has fear. And fear rises up in so many different areas of our lives at any given time. Okay? At any given time. And the truth of the matter is that we have choices of if we're going to let fear rule or we're going to notice fear, acknowledge fear, and then operate anyway. Right? Like, I know that many people deal with fear of so many things. People won't like them. They won't get married. They won't be able to have kids. That they can't be successful at their business, or they can't make friends, or that they won't get that job they applied for or they interviewed for. There's so many things that we could be afraid of, and it feels really real, and it's natural to be afraid. But I also think that even with the fears that we are feeling, that we have this amazing opportunity to look fear in the face and say, I'm going to operate no matter what. Right? So I'm single. I'm 43. I want to get remarried. And I am operating in looking fear in the face saying, hey, there's a possibility that I'm going to meet somebody who's going to be a douchebag. But there's also a possibility that I'm going to meet somebody who's going to be amazing. And I have to give myself that opportunity for the good and versus not the fear of somebody not so good showing up, right? I have to give myself permission. Like, I am trying to develop friendships with people, try to make new friends. And I have to put myself in situations where I can be rejected, where people can say, no, I don't want to hang out with you or whatever. But even though that could happen, I have to give myself permission to try to connect with people and see what happens. Right. And what I'm finding is that I'm already meeting good people. I'm already meeting good people. Like, for example, we just had a hurricane here in Houston, and our apartment complex went without electricity for days. And day one, I was like, it's hot in here. I cannot sleep here tonight with this, it's just this hot. And so I was going to go to a hotel, but I was like, I might have to end up being there for days. I don't know if I want to pay $150 a night, in a hotel. So then I went on Airbnb and was like, okay, I know that people rent out rooms in their Airbnb. And I was like, what if I can find an Airbnb with a room? Now there was fear of that because I don't know these people, and who knows what could happen with these people, But I went on and I found one, and the girl had great reviews. And I said, The worst that could happen is I get there and I'm like, I'm out of here. Right. And so I went the first night, slept the first night. It was fine. And I actually booked 2 nights. And so, okay, I'm good for the second night. So then when the second night was over, we still didn't have electricity. I was like, I told her, I said, hey, I think I should rent another day because my electricity's not back. And she was kind. And she's like, yeah, well, you only have to pay this amount. You don't have to pay da 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 da. And so I said, okay. So I paid the amount and, my lights ended up getting turned on. She refunded me the money. And I told her, I gave her the greatest review. And I was like, also, you're such a great person. I want to get to know you as a person outside of this situation. So once everything's back to normal, can I reach out to you? We just have dinner one time. And she was like, well, yeah, I love to make new friends. But guess what? She could have completely said, hey, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be friends with you. But because I was willing to get rejected, she was like, yeah, sure. So then when I came to collect my stuff, we're just talking in the lobby. We're just talking because I gave myself the opportunity, right? Like when I first moved into my apartment here, there's this chat for like the community. And I was like, does anybody want to make some quick money? I need help unpacking. And a girl was like, yeah, I'll come help you unpack. I didn't know her from a can of paint. She didn't know me. I paid her. We connected. Now we hang out. She helped me unpack, then helped me move for an entire day for no extra money. And now I'm hosting a dinner with her and some other people in a couple of weeks. Why? Because I could be afraid of connecting with people, or I can say, I want to meet people and I'm going to try. That's like when I host this dinner in a couple of weeks, I'm going to host a dinner for the people that help me move. And I'm going to add a couple more people so that I can meet new people, develop more friendships, and just do what it is that I do best. And it's like the only way that's going to happen is I have to open myself up to being rejected, I have to be afraid of whatever I'm afraid of, but then also operating no matter what. Like all of us have fear moments. But we all get this amazing opportunity to see what we fear, experience the fear, but also going like, I'm going to operate in the opposite, the hope that everything's going to go out well. I'm not saying if you meet some guy on Tinder, go to his house. That is not what I'm saying. No, don't do that. I'm talking about other stuff. You know what I mean? So I wanted to share that today because one, I know that we have many people that are watching this or listen to the podcast, and you are like, one, you may be interested in our course and you're afraid of what if it worked, what if it doesn't work, of you being on video and not. And if you give yourself permission to try, you'll never know where you can go. But if you never give yourself that permission, you won't go anywhere, right? Or others of you are just dealing with fear in general. And I wanted to give you permission today to feel fear, but also operate in the opposite, because everything we want is on the other side of fear. Fear is over here. And if we stay over here, we'll never get all the things that we want. But if we feel that fear and we go in the opposite direction of fear, then guess what? I mean, I don't mean like away from the thing, but it's like if we don't stay close to fear, I'm like, all right, you're my friend, but we actually say no, and we're gonna go in towards the direction of hope and what we really want, then we can actually get what we actually want. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please let me know here in the comments on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, please write a review. Come let me know on Instagram at Keenya Kelly what you loved about today's episode. I would love to know. And so thank you guys so much for listening and watching.